Hey everyone, Bill Lethman here for the Financial Advisors Lab. Have you ever heard the phrase, the money is in the follow-up? Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video, but I'm going to be taking a little bit different twist on that whole thing. So if you think about it, if your business is like my business and probably like the businesses of most financial advisors, there's ways that you generate leads into your business, and maybe you get them to do something. Maybe you get them to come to a seminar, or you get them to download a PDF of some kind of a guide that you have available to them. And you always hear people say that, getting people to a workshop, let's say, well, let's use that as an example. After the workshop, obviously you're going to make some contact with them. Maybe you're going to call them. And some people decide right away, hey, they're interested in what you have. There's an immediate need there. They're going to come in for an appointment. And you're going to start working actively with that client or prospect. But that's not the case with most individuals. Most individuals in the early stages of maybe reaching out to you, maybe just kind of kicking the tires a little bit. Maybe they're just starting to think a little bit about what their retirement is, or maybe they were at a party and somebody kind of posed a problem and say, hey, do you have too much money in your IRA? And have you thought about the taxes? No, I haven't really. And they start poking around, and maybe they find you, or they start looking at articles, and maybe they stumble into your world, or maybe they get an invitation to one of your workshops in the mail. And so they may be in the very early stages of trying to gather some of that financial information. And let's, again, continue with that example. Maybe they come out to one of these workshops, and afterwards, you call them up and they say, you know what, I'm just kind of checking things out, or I've got a meeting over with one of your competitors next week, and maybe you follow up with me in a few weeks, or, my kids are going back to school, my kids are coming home from school, it's going to be the holidays. We've all heard a million different reasons that they kind of push you off at some point in the future. So again, if you have a list and you have a group of people that kind of know who you are, maybe they've reached out to you, maybe they've come to one of your events, there needs to be a way to, kind of walk them through a continuation of the process to learn who you are and keep them engaged long enough to where that time comes when they are ready to actually do something, when they're ready to do the financial plan with you, or schedule that meeting, or maybe if it's just an introductory call like we do, go take that next step. But what I also want you to think about too in the process is, what kinds of things can you do before that? So, everyone says the money is in the follow-up. And so we end up, working very hard with a lot of our marketing to get people to take some action, to download your guide, or to come to an event. And then most of us, our follow-up is just really consisting of emails and phone calls, and so we might just call them, once a week or once every couple of weeks until basically they tell you, hey, we don't want to talk to you anymore, go away. Or you just email them, and maybe they're kind of interested at first, but eventually they lose interest in your email. So before that initial contact, before they reach out and maybe download a guide or come to one of your events, what kinds of things could you be doing beforehand? We do a lot of video. And so one of the ways that we market ourselves, and we continue to do this not only before that contact, but also after that initial contact as well. But maybe if there's a topic that you particularly specialize in, maybe it's some form of taxes regarding their retirement accounts, or maybe you work with high-level executives on their stock option plans. So if you put out videos or material that's valuable to that individual, where maybe if it's your ideal client and they have that particular question or issue they're trying to solve for, they stumble along a guide that you have, or maybe it's a video where you're addressing that. Hey, do you have a problem with this, or are you concerned about X? Well, these are a couple things that you could be doing right now to solve for that. So one of the things we do with a lot of our marketing is we target a lot of individuals that feel like they have too much money in a traditional IRA account and are concerned about some of the future taxes on that. So a lot of our videos, if you were to watch them, kind of address that. So number one, we're with those videos attracting our ideal client. So, hey, do you have $1 million in your IRA account? Have you thought about how much money in taxes you potentially could have regarding that? Have you thought about how that money could potentially cause extra taxes for your kids or your beneficiaries? And so we're addressing that ideal client, but we're, through some of those videos, offering some real solutions to that. And by the time they get to us, where maybe they come to an event or they schedule that introductory call, they already have a pretty good idea of, number one, that maybe they have an issue. Maybe they didn't even realize that they had that issue or concern when they initially found you, but through watching some of your videos or reading a guide that you have, they now say, hey, you know what, I potentially have a problem with this, and they also have a pretty good idea that you are somebody that could help them solve that particular issue. And it's going to be something that's going to separate you, I think, from a lot of your competitors. And maybe if they're already working or have a relationship with an advisor now, it's something that could separate you from that existing advisor, saying, hey, I feel like there's an issue or concern here, but this is not a topic that my financial advisor has even brought up with me. Maybe I should reach out to this person and do that. So anyway, so you're trying to get them to have that first meaningful conversation, and whatever your path is to do that, whether you're just trying to get them onto a call initially, or you're getting them to a webinar or to an in-person live event, and then trying to get them into a meeting afterwards, you're trying to get to that meaningful conversation. And again, depending on how much kind of persuasion you've done is going to dictate maybe how well that conversation goes, whether or not they will go directly into one of your programs like a financial plan, or they're ready to work with you directly on some part of their portfolio or a particular solution. But if they don't buy, you want to stay in contact with them. And so we talked about a couple of ways. You could email them to death, you could call them, and really it becomes kind of a chasing game. And I don't like that. It's something I never have liked. I've been in the business for 25 plus years. And again, you're making these random calls to individuals, most of the time catching them off guard. You're catching them, if they do even pick up the phone, they're in their car, they're on their way home from work, or you caught them at a random moment. Maybe they thought you were somebody else and they answered it accidentally, and they're, oh yeah, it's Bill. And so they're not always prepared for that, and those conversations don't always go that well. Same thing with email. Even if they are kind of interested, a lot of times those emails kind of get pushed aside. They might have the best intention of wanting to follow up with you, but time goes on, it becomes less and less important. They forget what your message really was. So a couple of other things that you can do to kind of stay engaged with them. So one of those ways is through video, and through the social media, there's a lot of great retargeting opportunities. And so what you can do, either both before that initial conversation and afterwards, you can retarget. So somebody that's been on your webpage, or somebody that has watched one of your existing videos, or somebody that's gone to your Facebook page, you have the ability within every one of these platforms to basically show them more ads. And again, what I want you to think about, and something we're going to continue to talk about here as we're doing these videos, is I really don't like the idea of ads per se. Your ads shouldn't be, like, hey, I'm a great financial advisor. We're taking new clients right now. I'm being overly simple here, but we're taking new clients now. Click on the form below and sign up to talk with me. No, you want these to be continuing that conversation. Again, maybe addressing what you think that main topic of concern or issue that you can help them with is, and say, hey, have you thought about this particular issue? Or we talked in a previous video about these taxes on your IRA. I want to talk about a couple of other strategies we've been helping clients do, and you're constantly getting in front of them where you're providing that value. We're actually teaching them something. Some people will just take that advice and maybe try to implement them on their own, but I can tell you firsthand, having done this now for several years, that this does promote a lot of people reaching out to us, scheduling those calls, and continuing to come back to us. Even people that we've talked to 6 months or 12 months ago or 2 years ago. Hey, I've been following your videos. I talked to you back a couple of years ago. Wasn't really ready to do something yet, but I'm now realizing that this issue that we've been talking about is a big deal, and I want to schedule something with you, and they want to do the financial plan. So be thinking about that. Again, that conversation, what happens before, what are some of the things that you can do to kind of indoctrinate them to that, get them comfortable with you, that you're the expert in this particular field or topic, and that you're the one that can help them with that. And then afterwards, don't just continue to drip on them through phone calls and email, but think of other avenues there. Maybe you do a webinar that kind of addresses that. And so you can kind of round up a bunch of those people that have had interest before, and you send them a personalized email, or maybe even have an assistant call them and say, hey, you know what, you were interested in tax saving strategies for X, and I want to let you know we're doing a webinar this coming Thursday, where we're going to be talking about that in more detail, and we sign you up for it, whether that's through an email or through a phone call. It might be a little bit more personal. But anyway, thinking about that, and again, the money is in the follow-up, but thinking about that follow-up a little bit different than maybe what you've done up to this point. So anyway, hope you're enjoying the videos here. We're going to try to continue to roll out new content on a regular basis. Please subscribe. That's a way we can grow our audience. We're also working on some really exciting things down the road too, where we're going to try to provide some resources for you to kind of get more advantages towards some of these different ideas and strategies that we're talking about here. So anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Thanks.